I'm Morgan. Today I want to talk about why having to buy swatches of fabric online disproportionately impacts the autistic and disabled community. So I am very frustrated by the closure of JoAnn's because in a lot of parts of the United States, they were the main place where you could actually go and touch fabric before buying it. A lot of parts of this country do not have like an actual fabric district, and in some places there might be a small selection of fabrics at like a Michael's or Walmart or maybe a quilting shop. But for those of us who are interested in things like cosplay where we need more specialty fabrics, the main place to get that was JoAnn's. And for people like me who are autistic, it is very important to be able to touch the stuff that we're expected to wear before we commit to buying it, because a lot of us face very serious sensory issues, and something as simple as having a tag that's just like rubbing against my neck like for the majority of the day, like that can be really hard for my brain to process. It can really impact my everyday life, and so I am someone who actually like seam rips the tags out of all my clothes. And so for those of us who are autistic, it's important to be able to touch fabric before we commit to buying like a whole bolt of something. And with in-person fabric stores, people like me could actually touch the fabric that we're planning to use before we commit to buying it. But now that fabrics are mostly being sold online, the only way to really touch the fabric before you buy it is to buy a swatch. And in that case, you're still paying money for that swatch, a service that used to be free before. Getting to touch the fabric before you buy it now costs money. And this is an added cost that is going to be disproportionately impacting autistic people like me. And also, a lot of people with disabilities are struggling financially. Let me be perfectly real. Some people with disabilities end up on either SSI or SSDI, and so struggle with like very limited incomes. And other people may be working but not necessarily able to work the same amount of hours as someone who is non-disabled. And so just for disabled people, money can be very difficult. And even though like I'm in the United States and we do have the Americans with Disabilities Act, but in practice, it is not always enforced as well as it ought to be. And so yeah, just there are a lot of times where it's like disabled people also are just expected to spend more money for stuff, because there might be healthcare related costs to our disability, or we might have to buy like different products than other people. Like for instance, I have a pair of like hunting earmuffs, which most people don't have to buy, but I have like a lot of sensory issues related to loud noises, so sometimes I'll wear hunting earmuffs, and that costs money. And things like, say you can't stand the texture of, say, a certain soap or something, and you have to buy the one type of soap. Or maybe like you cannot stand like, just a lot of times it's textural issues, but like if you can't stand the feeling of something and you have to go buy a more expensive version of that product, that sort of thing adds up. That costs money. And so it's just really frustrating that now a service that used to be free, being able to touch fabric in person before buying it, now costs money when people have to buy swatches online to know how the fabric's gonna feel. So yeah, this really bothers me because I basically brought up my concerns about this on someone's video, I think like a month ago, and the person came back to me today with like a comment of like, oh my gosh, this comment's it makes me want to cry. And I'm like, well, I don't think it's my fault for advocating for the disabled community. Like, the disabled community are always stuck being the ones paying more money for stuff. Like, it is not my responsibility as a disabled person to feel like, what's the word, to paint my needs into like a tiny little box. Like, it's not my responsibility to make myself smaller to accommodate the non-disabled population. It is important for people like me to stand up for and advocate for disability rights, because if I don't, who's going to? We are oftentimes, like, how do I put this? Like, my community, a lot of autistic people a struggle with social communication stuff, and some of us are more verbal than others. And so I feel like I need to be someone who's standing up and saying, hey, I think it sucks that fabric swatches cost money now. This is disproportionately hurting my community. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this because I really feel like autistic needs are being pushed kind of pushed underground or pushed out of the mainstream at the moment. Like, the person who's in charge of Health and Human Services keeps calling my people an epidemic, and so I feel like I need to be more so doubling down now than ever to advocate for just better acceptance and inclusion towards the disabled community, and actively thinking about how we can make the world more accepting and more just like equal for disabled people and for autistic people in everyday life, and these little injustices that add up and make life harder for people like me. So yeah, I hope that this video encourages you to be more actively anti-ableist and to be more empathetic towards the plight of marginalized communities. And I hope you have a great day. Bye!